Yes, yes. Down 2-0 midway through the second period, and oh my goodness, here come your St. Louis Blues. Welcome, friends, to Balloon Party. The sun's shining bright in St. Louis, Missouri, but perhaps we all feel a little warmer inside because the Blues sit atop the Central with the Utah Hockey Club. Hello again. I'm Tim McKernan, and that's Jackson Burkett. And Jackson, I can't wait to hear everybody's story of watching the Blues yesterday come back from a 2-0 deficit to shock the Kraken in the Pacific Northwest for a Jim Dandy of a 3-2 win. Jordan Kyrou, how do you do? Jordan Binnington, thanks for stacking pillows. And Kraken fans, thanks for coming. We'll see you some other time. We've got 2 points. We're heading to San Jose. What a treat it was for a little day game opener. I got to watch the game with my 2 sons, and it couldn't have been a more delightful memory. Jackson, what was your memory of yesterday's W?
I got home around 3:30 yesterday. Got the notification on my phone. Hey, Blues game's getting ready to start.
Notification?
So yeah, I have the Apple Sports app, so whenever one of my favorite teams, I have a little star by the teams that I...
Well, you acknowledge the Blues are one of your favorite teams.
Yeah, in hockey. And so it gives me a little notification. The game's getting ready to start. And so, I was like, it's only going to take me a couple buttons to click, and I can have the game right here on my television. So I did just that. And I sat down. I watched the first period. And then I looked outside and looked at my phone. So it was 72 degrees in St. Louis, and the sun was shining bright. And I said, well, I'll do it. And I went out and ran around and walked around my neighborhood, and that's what I did for the remainder of the game.
So, for the intermission. So you went out and you ran during the first intermission, then you came back second period. I mean, here's Dan Bielsma. He's like talking to Stormy Buonacante, who was sidelines for the Missouri A&M game. Now she's covering the Blues and the Kraken.
Right.
And she's talking to Bielsma. I can't wait to get your perspective on that interview. And says, you guys came out with quite a jump. And he goes, I'm glad you acknowledge how well we're playing. Right after that, it all changed. Blues go on the power play. Jordan Kyrou, how do you do? What was that, 3 goals in a minute 55?
Yes.
Broberg, Holloway, the offer sheet geniuses.
Yeah.
And Jordan Kyrou, even going to the outside. Benner stacking pillows to finish things off in the third period.
Right.
Dan Bielsma, you want to have that one back? Do you? Stormy asked the questions.
You would think that once I got back from my physical activity that I would just have the game right back on, but that was not the case.
I understand.
Right. No, I didn't watch anything after the first period.
This is crazy.
I couldn't be sorrier. I didn't. I'm sorry.
This guy's a clown, Tim!
Yep.
Doesn't Hubbard carry every single game? It's his employer!
It's true.
The 636.
You can catch every Blues game right here on the home of the Blues, 101 ESPN.
I'm surprised you didn't watch A Time to Kill yesterday. That's from Stepdad Gary.
Plowsy did that once.
That's with Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
And then The Rainmakers with Matt Damon.
Yes, similar, but different. Then McConaughey played the lawyer again in the film The Lincoln Lawyer, where he was a lawyer who exclusively worked out as Lincoln. Then he got a partnership deal with Lincoln to critical acclaim.
Tim, I was in the middle of composing my 6th stanza along with the banks of the River de Pere when Ruzzi scored that second goal.
Yeah, kind of an ideal start for the Blues because you face a little adversity. Well, you face a little adversity.
Right, here we go. Look at this. It was a bait and switch. You did watch the game.
No, but I think just you could look at the box score and say you face a little adversity right at the gates, start of the season, not how you want to start, but then you turn it around, get a little bit more physical, get a little more sandpaper in your game, as Doug Vaughn would say.
Oh, nice sandpaper. Look at that.
And you turn around, you get a win, and you get it from some younger players, some guys that you acquired in the offseason, and then that's all anchored by Benner being rock solid between the pipes.
All right, so you did.
Well, I think that it doesn't take a real Petey puck to know that was a good way to start the season.
You're
for the
damn
Blues.
right it was.
Yeah.
And, I mean, here's a team that struggled on the power play, probably playing a role in the demise of Craig Berube. And then it improved under Drew Bannister. The power play gets them going, but it's that sandpaper in their game that you just made reference to. They get the power play. They respond. They had a lot of issues with coming back from deficits last year. And here we are in a lifeless first period. And boom, 3 goals, $155, and they're able to hold on. And furthermore, and I was kind of thinking, oh, this is going to be tough because inevitably they're going to give up a goal and this is going to suck because they had 3 glorious scoring opportunities in the first 5 minutes of the third period. So these boys weren't done. Just weren't able to convert. But Kyrou went off the post in the first period. I mean, theoretically, he could have had a hat trick. 5th time in his career? Would have been his 5th time in his career for a hat trick?
Sounds right. Yeah, I mean, like, truly, if you're drawing up, I mean, I guess a better start would be winning like 7-0, but face a little adversity, get Jordan Kyrou going, who's obviously been up and down throughout his last couple of years here in St. Louis.
A polarizing figure amongst Blues fans.
To say the least.
Bad year this year. I don't think he's around next year.
Right. And so to get him going a little bit.
2 goals out of the gate, goes off the post, chance for third. How do you do?
Yeah, and then you get those offer sheet guys, which was, I mean, really, if you're talking offseason comparatively to like Cardinals and Blues, what the Blues did and the creativity to get Broberg and Holloway compared to what the Cardinals have done in the last 5 off seasons, really. Night and day difference. So you get those guys going, get the win. Binner still is rock solid between the pipes. Not a bad way to start if you're a Blues hockey fan.
Oh, it was great. It was so, and to be able to sit there and watch it with my sons yesterday afternoon, that was super cool. I wasn't planning on that part. I knew I'd be watching it, but I wouldn't think they would be watching. But they were locked in, and one of them's 2.
Yeah, you know, and I talk a lot of smack about the day game start, but to that point, so how often are the Blues playing on the West Coast where puck drops while kids are in bed, you know? So if kids get that opportunity.
Tomorrow night, it's a pregame show at 8:30.
Right. So, I mean,
Here on 101 ESPN.
We've seen time and time again when you have to go out the West Coast, especially playing the Western Conference, a lot of late starts, which sucks for kids. I mean, I remember as a kid growing up, not hockey, but watching, you know, baseball games on the West Coast, couldn't watch them. But if kids just got home from school and were able to watch the Blues, beautiful day in St. Louis, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's a great afternoon, a great win. Because the way, listen, I mean, preseason, but with the preseason being rather lackluster, and then you have that really rough first period. Very fortunate that it was a scoreless game. And then Seattle scores 2 quick goals to start the second period. And I'm going, boy, I didn't see much to give me too much hope. And then all of a sudden, here we go. Power play, Kyrou, and off the boys go. Fires you up. Gets you a little more invested going into tomorrow night in San Jose. One of the things I really enjoy during Blues season is Chris Kerber's podcast, Curbside. Jamie Rivers on the call with him last night in Seattle. And Jamie Rivers, who I think is wonderful. I know you've challenged him to a fight many a time. But he made this observation kind of comparing and contrasting last year's team and the start to this year. Granted, it's 1 game out of 82, but you're down 2-0 and how the Blues got that response.
How do you get back into it? You're down 2-0. Well, I'll tell you how you get back into it. Radek Faksa, that line goes out there. Nathan Walker stirs it up with a couple of hits. Toropchenko gets involved with Gord. Faksa gets involved with everybody at one point. And all of a sudden, things change. There's a new intensity. There's a new energy. The guys are going. That's what you need from those guys. Dependable defensively, smart with the puck, and then bring the physicality when the team needs it.
How about that? Yep. And then Kerber and Rivers talking about Jordan Binnington's performance.
And in the end, Jordan Binnington was, pretty simply put, Jordan Binnington.
He's such a good goalie. I mean, I love him as a goaltender. I know that he doesn't necessarily get the national attention that he deserves, but you hear Holloway in our post-game interview talking about, well, Binner just locked it down. Like, that team knows that if they get a goal lead, like, it's on lockdown. Jordan Binnington is going to compete. He's going to make saves. He made some unbelievable saves. I mean, highlight reel saves for game 1 of the season. So the Blues are in great hands when it comes to goaltending, both Binnington and Hofer.
Unfortunate moment while we were listening to Jamie Rivers there. Maybe if you were watching on YouTube, you caught it. Jackson turned and looked at the YouTube chat, maybe for about 2.5 seconds. Read, I don't know what part, maybe it was the thing about the trust fund, and then turned, lowered his head, shook his head, and then returned to listening to Jamie Rivers, his nemesis.
It was my mistake, you know.
You feel like you know better.
Harrison Ford knew not to look when they brought
Raiders
out
of the Lost Ark.
Yeah,
Ark of the Covenant.
When they brought the Ark of the Covenant out, he knew not to look, and I just looked, and now my face is melted off.
That's what happened to you.
Yeah,
just
much
now.
like those Germans.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Whether or not your trust fund is liquid or not, I don't know.
It's not liquid.
It's not. When you're 30?
I get access to a little bit now, full access at 30, but like I said, it's mostly tied up in railroad futures. Yep. So I'm seeing a big comeback in the railways.
How will Jackson watch LeBron and Bronny this year since they're out on the West Coast? That's from MD 2020.
There it is. They'll play games, primetime games, or I'll watch the first quarter or half. I don't know. West Coast is tough. It's always been tough. It sucks. I think I would love being on the West Coast for sports viewing. You get college football starting at 9 a.m., NFL starting at 10 a.m. All the night games are over, and you can have dinner afterwards.
That does sound kind of nice.
Doesn't it? I'm more of a morning person in general. I know you are as well. And
now I am.
Right. But kind of my whole life, I've always been more of a morning person. And the idea of just waking up with a cup of coffee and watching college football until 7 p.m. is pretty awesome.
Too bad this Olivet communist hates the Blues. He should be fired immediately. That's from the Veiled Prophet.
Well, I won't be.
But you are an Olivet communist?
No, I am not. I do hail from Olivet. That's true. But I am not a communist.
Who are you parroting right there?
Kind of just like a...
Sounded like a bit of a JFK, but I don't recall him ever saying that. That would have probably played well.
It would be weird if he said that after he got elected. You know, that would be tough.
Yeah. Ask not what your country can do for you.
Sure.
Ask what you can do for your country. I am not a communist.
Right.
Yeah,
but McCarthy was going wild, so he might have just to cover his bases. But that's kind of how I imagine people in the late 50s, early 60s talked.
The Lakers will be on network no fewer than 250 times this year, just in case Bronny sniffs the floor. That's from Bazooka Tooth 75.
Yep. Bringing the hate.
No, what does that mean? Yep, bringing the heat.
But the hate.
Oh, the hate. I think I'm bringing the heat like that.
Yeah, because it's super original to trash LeBron James.
Oh,
it's revolutionary, really.
Oh, no. I think they landed a jab. Don't let them land a jab. Counterpunch, uppercut, jab.
I need a cut man. That's what I need. I need a cut man. I go back to the stool. I feel lonely.
Are you trying to say that I'm not your cut man, bro?
No. Well, you're the cut man, and also you're
the Don King.
You're the cut man for both sides. You know. You'll talk to me, and then you'll go to the other side, the other corner of the ring, and be like, all right, now bring the heat.
I will gape you and your Twinkie friends. That's from the 314.
I have a feeling I know where that came from.
Really? So that's a buddy of yours.
If I had to guess. A wonderful gentleman, but, devious.
Yeah, it looks like he's coming after you.
I respect it.
Jackson needs to keep his opinions to himself and his homeboys. That's from Tiny Peepee. That's Don Peepee in a YouTube chat. I wouldn't go up against the Don. I'm just advising you because I know you're feeling a little frisky after somebody went after Bronny.
I'm not whatever. It's kind of tough to keep my opinions to myself when I'm 50% of the show.
Yeah.
Well, just of human bodies in here.
Well, then you'd be more than 50%.
Well, in total height, yeah.
It's not cool, man. I'm doing my best with what I got.
I know.
The good Lord didn't give me...
What shoe size are you?
9.5, 10.
Ah, that's so perfect. See, that's a benefit of being...
You like my size, boy?
Well, it's so much easier. Every shoe you'll find in a 10.
Well, you're 6'1". I mean, what are you having a tough time finding shoes?
12s get a little tough.
Really? Is that right? Really?
12s can get a little tough. I have buddies who are really tall and wear a 14 or 15.
Herb?
And best of luck. No, Herb is not. Herb's about your size.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. And we're both well hung? That's the deal here?
Yeah. Yep. Can speak to both.
Nice. Thank you. You're responsible for 100% of the bad takes. 314.
There you go. Now you're getting somewhere. Fun with percentage points. It's a staple of Balloon Party.
Ooh, it's starting to get graphic in that text inbox. I'm going to have to be careful on what I read. Usually that's something I turn off at 10 o'clock, but now... Well, this is what happens, though. You go out for a run and you don't watch the second, third period on the opener.
I was just trying to better my health, Just trying to better my health. It was a beautiful day out there.
It was a beautiful day.
I felt wrong being inside.
Only one opening day. I understand.
I felt wrong being inside. I was inside during the Mizzou Texas A&M debacle, and I felt wrong too about it at halftime.
But then you probably went to the St. Gabriel School picnic, quote unquote, afterwards.
Right. Well, once they put it back in the summer, I'll go.
Amen. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
All right. Jackson's got his Little Piddles Wide Berth Wednesday questions. I guess I'll talk about the Blues. He can talk about the first period.
I got Blues questions.
Good. Yeah. I'm looking forward to talk about it. It was a hell of a way to start the season. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Balloon Party. It's 101 ESPN. Munganast, St. Louis Acura. Munganast, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, stlouisacura.com, altontoyota.com. It's a beautiful day. Might as well go shopping. You can go to the lots if you'd like, or just open up stlouisacura.com or altontoyota.com online and take a look at the selection they have, both new and pre-owned vehicles. Looking to buy a car? No problem. They can do it for you. Want to lease a car? No problem. They can do it for you. Need to get your car serviced there? And you say, well, I didn't get my car from there. That's no problem. They're happy to take care of it for you. It's Munganast, St. Louis Acura, and Munganast, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, presenting sponsor, Balloon Party, official automotive provider of TMA and the Tim McKernan Show podcast as well. I think the world of the people I've gotten to know at Munganast, St. Louis Acura, and Munganast, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota. And I also say this, that once you start doing business with them, you'll be stunned at how wonderful they are. And I don't know if you're going to want to go anywhere else. It's Munganast, St. Louis Acura, Munganast, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, our presenting sponsor. Support the sponsors. That's the name of the game. Go online at stlouisacura.com and altontoyota.com. Welcome back. Balloon Party 101 ESPN, presented to you by Munganast, St. Louis Acura, Munganast, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota. You can listen on 101, of course, but also the 101 ESPN app. Podcast it via the Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers podcast. And watch on YouTube. Airlines team sponsor the cameras that provide the broadcast on YouTube. YouTube chat's active as well. Dan Jansen, I can't tell if you guys are in peacetime or wartime, but he says, do we get trivia without a prize today?
We do not.
We had trivia yesterday. Kind of a surprise trivia.
Yeah, it was kind of an impromptu thing. And we gave out 2 tickets to the Blues and the Winnipeg Jets.
Dan Jansen's implying that you hoard the tickets.
I'll nip that in the bud. That's just untrue. If you don't win, it doesn't mean that there was no winner given. It just means you didn't win. You know, like when you watch the lottery and your number doesn't win, someone else probably won, you know? I guess in the lottery, it's not always the case.
Yeah, they carry over that pot.
Yeah, but, I mean, I think their logic is flawed there.
Jackson, we talked Blues and Kraken to open up the program today. And now here at 10:24, time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, we have this Wide Berth Wednesday. It's my pleasure to present to you Jackson Bennett Burkett.
Yeah, let's strap up the old steel slippers once again.
Nice.
Head out to the ice. Talk a little bit more Blues. Let's go big picture Blues, though. Let's go big picture Blues here. With Binnington being who he is the floor for the Blues higher than one would expect given the young players who are so prevalent, looking way too far ahead. And I want to emphasize that. I'm looking way too far ahead. Where would the club need to be standing-wise and performance-wise where they could maybe be a buyer at the deadline? Is they want?
Wow.
Is there
You're jumping ahead? How do you do?
Is there a want to capitalize on Binner's prime?
Yes, I think so. I think when we would talk with, I feel like Jamie Rivers, Joey Vitale said this during the off season, that when you, and Jeremy Rutherford said it this morning on TMA, when you have the goaltender question answered, it's tough to turn the page and have a full-on rebuild because the timing doesn't line up. And without Jordan Binnington being Jordan Binnington, as we heard Jamie Rivers and Chris Kerber say, and that sound we played from Chris Kerber's podcast, Curbside, recommendation for subscribing to it, then that can change the game. And without Binnington playing like that yesterday, Blues certainly don't pick up 2 points during regulation. Maybe they get a point. Maybe they pick up the extra point in overtime. I don't know. But that was key because, you know, there still was a lot of hockey left. And based on the way they had been on their heels for most of the first period and a half, thinking that 3 goals would hold up would probably be not where most Blues fans were. They still were giving up so many great scoring opportunities to the Kraken. So when you have that kind of play, you have a guy like Hofer, certainly that's something that you go, okay, got to capitalize on this. It used to be, and I know this predates you, so this isn't about your hockey knowledge, but it used to be for Blues fans, they'd have all the other pieces or feel like all the other pieces would be in play, and then goaltending would let them down during the postseason. It was really a rite of passage for the spring. Once a Blues goaltender wets himself, you knew it was about to warm up.
Right.
That was a tradition, and you can go back way back even to the 1980s, much less I know your first one was Roman Turek, who wasn't paying attention as Owen Nolan skated across center ice in Game 7.
When they're at the blue line, you don't anticipate them shooting, but when they do, it should be an easier save.
Yeah, well, it's even more alarming if it's the red one, and that's where that one came in from right before the end of the period. And it beat him. And the thing is, it really wasn't a cell phone time, so he wasn't on his phone. He just was looking around the building.
Yeah,
you know, hey, let me take in this atmosphere for a Game 7 that we fought back to get here. And oh no, there's the Sharks captain beating us. But you got that. You got a goaltender change in the Western Conference Finals in 2001. They felt like they might have something going with Chris Osgood at one point. Felt confident about that, but then the team got sick in 2003 after they had a 3-1 lead against Vancouver. You remember that. The Canadians booed the American national anthem. You remember that. I was in the building for it.
Ooh, boy, that's...
Yeah, well, it was right after the Iraq War had kicked up, so there was some tension with global politics at the moment. But I was in the building for that in Vancouver. Blues were up 3-1. They thought that might be the team. And then if you want to go back to relative recent history, getting Ryan Miller, thinking that was going to be the thing. Now that didn't work out. Lose to the Blackhawks in the first round. You had Kid Ells at times, but it was Jordan Binnington who kind of put Grant Fuhr getting run. I'm sure there's a million texts coming in. John Casey getting beat by Yzerman. It's a long history. Now the Blues have the goaltender. But then you sit there and go, okay, are the other pieces in place? But at that time, they would have a lot of the other pieces in place, and then they would have a goaltender fall on his face in the postseason. You don't necessarily get that sense from Binnington. Keep in mind the famous Kadri incident from a couple years ago. He wasn't even the starter of that postseason. Ville Husso was.
Right.
And he came in during the Wild Series, and then sitting there going, my God, if Binnington doesn't get run, who knows? Maybe the Blues upset the Avalanche, and who knows what happens once you're one of the final 4 teams.
Totally.
So, yeah, I get it when you're taking a look at that. I think what was a couple things stand out to me. You see the new acquisitions contribute on the second goal with Broberg and Holloway. You see the way that they responded when a smaller team, fast team in Seattle started kind of maybe pushing around a little bit midway through the second period, and then that leads to the power play and the comeback. And then you see the way the power play performed. The thing that's exciting, even though he's polarizing as hell, is seeing Jordan Kyrou do what he did. I mean, he had 2 goals, and he had a post in the first period. And in addition, on that power play goal, it was a set play. He's on the outside. You didn't see that a lot last year. He executes there. And then on the breakaway for what was the game-winning goal, he had a lot of those last year, but he didn't convert a lot of them, it felt like. You'd be like, oh, Kyrou's on the break with that speed, and then would misfire or just shoot it right into the goalie's chest. Beats Grubauer, and the Blues go on to win it. So a lot of things that have to fall into place for the Blues to be competitive this year. A lot of those boxes were checked yesterday. That's what made that such a great win, and gives me a little fire heading into San Jose, a team that was a burr in their saddle last year, Jackson. A terrible team that the Blues struggled with.
Didn't they go
Let's get 4 points to start the season. Let's free roll over the weekend, then come back and take on the Wild, all right?
Can I give a novice hockey take?
I think that didn't need to be said.
Sure. I'll just give a hockey take. When I think back to the 2019 Cup run, a staple, almost a team's identity, felt like physicality.
Absolutely.
Putting guys in the blender, making them
not getting pushed around.
Absolutely. And I feel like, based on what we saw yesterday with the comeback being kind of charged up by the physicality, that if that's your team identity and you can stay healthy, because that's a big key with it, your floor is also raised even more because you can always stay in games. If you're always being physical, it seems like you can always stay in games. Then you have the high-quality goaltender, both the starter and the backup. I just feel like the floor is raised where they might be in a spot where they really want to capitalize on Benner playing well, especially if he keeps it up and he's playing really, really well. I feel like there might be an opportunity to capitalize.
Let me make a college football analogy.
That would help. That would help.
The Blues, Seattle, Alabama, Georgia. Except, in this case, Drew Bannister's boys completed the comeback and held on, unlike Kirby Smart's team. But still, Kirby Smart's team still feels great, considering they were able to come back like they did 11 days ago in Tuscaloosa.
As they should.
Watching the first half of that game reminded me a little bit, not just because Stormy Buonacante was there talking to Biles, but also it's just not even competitive. And I'm watching and I'm going, boy, it's fun that I'm sitting here with my sons. If this becomes some kind of tradition where we sit and watch Blues games together, this is great. But, God, I worry they're going to be bored out of their minds because the Blues just had nothing going. And the turnaround was somewhat similar to the Georgia one in the sense that you just didn't really see it coming. There was no indication that was going to happen outside of halftime. In this case, it just flipped. And it felt like it was more in the Missouri A&M category, or this is going to be a blowout. They're going to lose like 4-0 or 4-1, and we're going to come in and go, oh, boy, the crap that we saw in the preseason's carried over to the regular season. And instead, with some physicality, with a power play, with a comeback, with Jordan Kyrou, with Jordan Binnington, and with the acquisitions of Broberg and Holloway, you saw the Blues rally. I mean, if you're a Blues fan, yeah, it's one game, but as far as what the team's going to have to be able to do for the course of the season to get back into the playoffs, a lot of those things were performed yesterday, in particular midway through the second period and onward, and that's why that stands out a little bit more to me than just one of your standard 82. Your thoughts are welcome, 314-399-9646. Air Comfort Service text line, and you're welcome to participate in the chat on the YouTube channel. It's the 101 ESPN YouTube channel, and that way you can see us also. And let us know if you think we're hot. It'd be great. Be great. You know, I'm undersized, but being undersized, I'll be scrappy. And I think that might be something people would appreciate. You know, especially if I hit the ball to the right side of the infield to move a runner from second to third.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Balloon Party 101 ESPN.
This is Action Jackson with a SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues kick off their 2024-2025 campaign with a 3-2 victory over the Seattle Kraken. The Blues are off today, but they'll take on the San Jose Sharks tomorrow night. That game starts at 9:30 p.m., 8:30 pregame right here on 101 ESPN. And then tonight on 101 ESPN, you get some MLB playoff action as the Dodgers will be taking on the Padres. That game first pitch at 8:08 right here on 101 ESPN. The Padres lead that series 2-1. That was their SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome back to McKernan. Jackson Burkett with you. We got 21 minutes, Jackson. 2 segments. You got questions. I got answers. Let's see what we can do. This is your time.
Let's do it.
Yep.
Let's bring the heat. Yesterday, we had Eli Drinkwitz, head coach of Missouri football, talking to the media. And naturally, there was a lot of questions following the performance of the Tigers.
Understandably so.
As they went down, and some questions that were unanswered following the game and honestly still remain unanswered. I think what we have answered is Brady Cook is healthy.
That's what he says, yeah.
That's what both Brady and Drink have said. And I think the biggest questions that we have not got answered is why were they not blitzing? And then off of that, did they only prepare for Marcel Reed? And then when Wegman was the starter, why was the plan not changed? I mean, this is all speculation, but Drink didn't really answer those questions. But what he did...
We've got some sound.
Yeah. He had an answer to his questions about the lack of effort or the troubles with adversity.
You know, again, I didn't see anything on the film that told me we had a lack of effort. And I'm keenly aware to look for that because that would tell me that there's a deeper issue. We did not respond in either side of the ball with making the plays that we needed to, which again goes back to, did we put those guys in the right situations on offense or defense, which is my responsibility. And we just weren't able to land that counter punch. I thought we did, obviously, but it got taken off the board. And again, we have to respond in a better manner. I think we all see that, recognize that, take responsibility for that.
I watched that entire press conference live yesterday afternoon, I guess it was late yesterday morning, and a couple of things stood out to me. He was really irritated by the officiating, but talked around it. But that's something I can. And by the way, I'm not saying that he shouldn't have been. I don't think he was blaming the officiating either, to be clear. But you heard him make reference to, we thought we landed the counter punch, but it was taken off the board. I also think that he was frustrated by a variety of different players' performances, and then specific to whether or not they failed to prepare for Connor Wegman, who wound up starting instead of Marcel Reed. Gerard Hamilton, who works with Gabe DeArmond at PowerMizzou.com, writes a column after these press conferences titled, What Mizzou Football Head Coach Eli Drinkwitz Said on Media Day and What It Means. And specifically, when asked about whether the defensive performance versus A&M was more of a schematics issue or an execution issue, especially based on him expecting Marcel Reed to play over Connor Wegman, Drinkwitz said, quote, I think we all take responsibility for the issues Saturday, schematically and execution-wise. At the end of the day, it falls on my shoulders to make sure it's better. And our focus is leading up to UMass. We make no excuse about it. Shouldn't have mattered who was playing the quarterback position. We should have been better, and we need to focus this week on stopping this quarterback and figuring out our schemes so we can execute at a higher level. And then Gerard says, this is what that means. The play on the field last week showed Mizzou was unprepared for Connor Wegman and A&M's offense, which makes some sense because the way the Aggies run their offense with Wegman is a little different than when Reed starts. Drinkwitz had said multiple times last week that A&M had centered its offense around Reed to play to its strengths. That's who Missouri was prepared for, and Drinkwitz's quote, particularly the quote, it shouldn't have mattered who was playing the quarterback position, all but admits the Tigers were not prepared for the right quarterback, Which is a little disappointing to hear if you're a fan of this team that has legitimate college football playoff aspirations. And I would agree with that assessment. I agree with that assessment.
I mean, the analogy I use with Missouri game at Texas A&M is like, if you're in a college class, you're sitting there and you go to class every single day. You know, if it's 3 days a week, you're there every single day. Even if you don't pay attention, I feel like there's a certain floor for how your performance on the test can be. You're there, you know what's being discussed. There's a certain floor. You might get a C- or a D, but you probably won't fail. You're there. Mizzou has the talent where failure like that doesn't seem like an option. Maybe a C, you know, maybe you lose 31-14. That was sort of, but to get smoked like that, it would make you think that you never showed up to class once in your life. You know, that you don't even know what the class is about. That's how they perform. And that's what's so mind-boggling to me is that this team, you even want to go back to last year, times this year that have looked light years better than they looked all game on Saturday, last Saturday. I don't get where the disconnect is because it looked like nobody was really trying. It looked like no scheme was working. I did not think that was on the menu of what could have happened in that game. And there has to be a reason why. And I just don't think we're getting that.
Something that stands out to me is you take a look at the odds to win the college football national championship. And listen, minus Texas, everybody in the SEC has a loss. And you have a few teams in the Big Ten with aspirations for being in the mix for the championship that have a loss. I think at this point, probably most Michigan fans aren't thinking college football playoff, and they're sitting there with 2 losses. But everybody in the SEC has one but Texas. And the odds to win the championship and the SEC championship are so different for Georgia, who has a loss. They're plus 450 to win the national championship. Alabama's plus 650. Tennessee's plus 1,500. Ole Miss, who's lost to Kentucky at home, plus 2,200. A&M, who lost to Notre Dame at home, plus 6,000. LSU, who has looked rough a couple of different times, has one loss to USC, plus 7,000. And then you got to drop down all the way to plus 10,000 to get to Missouri to win the national championship. And they're sitting there with one road loss. And by definition, next to Georgia's road loss in Alabama, it's the, quote, best loss of the bunch as far as the caliber of opponent. But if you watched the game, that was a fight that was over in the first round. And I think that's what odds makers are seeing. Furthermore, unlike Ole Miss, who beat the hell out of South Carolina, Tennessee, that went into Norman and beat Oklahoma, Alabama, sure, they lost to Vanderbilt, but they beat Georgia at home. You've got a Missouri team that really doesn't have anything that it can hang its hat on as far as a great win. And if anything, 2 of their wins came in lackluster performances. So that's the thing that makes it tough to believe it's going to turn around. Hopefully it does. As I was saying, you watched the first 30 minutes of the Blues game yesterday, you would have never thought that was going to finish with a 3-2 win. Never would have thought that. But it turned around. The question is, do the Missouri Tigers have that ability to turn this thing around? And we're going to find out the answer to that, I think, by how they play against Auburn. I don't think you're going to find out much about the season unless somehow it ends. I mean, it's a 27.5 point favorite against UMass. Alabama was a smaller favorite than 27.5 points last week in Nashville against Vanderbilt.
Yeah, that to your point right there. Like,
you're going to find out against Auburn. That's what I think you're going to find out.
The realist in me agrees with you there, where it's like, if this team had a great performance against Vandy or BC, where they put up a ton of points and looked great, you know, and then they had the game against Texas A&M, you would be like, okay, maybe that was a major hiccup, but a hiccup nonetheless, and things can turn around. But they just haven't had that. Now, the optimist in me, it's kind of like in basketball or in golf, seeing a putt go down, seeing a shot go down, maybe against UMass where you can have like almost free reign to do what you want, get creative and throw it deep and make big plays. That just seeing that will get some confidence back and then propel you for the rest of the year. That's the optimist in me. But the realist in me just says, even if they do smoke UMass, that maybe this team just isn't what we thought they were.
It'll be Auburn a week from Saturday in Columbia for homecoming. I will be there. Jackson Burkett, TBD. What's that about?
I don't know. Homecoming, I love homecoming.
Sounds like you don't really like homecoming because I sense a but.
Really loved it as a student, but
there it is.
When you're going there, it's a lot. The prices that used to be great then get jacked up through the roof. 11 a.m. kick. Might not have all the right ingredients for me to go up there.
Oh, wow. So you're out.
I'll get to
I
another
got a
Tiger
hotel
game.
for 2 nights.
Ooh.
Yeah.
In Colombia or?
Aye.
Ooh. Wow. That'll be fun.
Yeah, me and my wife just going up there for the weekend.
Just you two?
That's right. That's right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's right.
You get after it.
Where should I dine?
I really like 44 Stone.
44 Stone. And what do they serve?
It's like
Is that a vegan place?
It's farm to table. It's pretty classic American fare, but they have it's very home style in a way. I really like that. 44 Canteen is their other restaurant, which is downtown, which does tacos, really good tacos. Obviously, I love pooches.
Can you bring your own fries?
I think if you pocketed them Napoleon Dynamite style,
Yeah, Napoleon, give me some of your tots.
I don't think they'd have a real problem with that.
Like a corkage fee.
I love Murray's.
Yeah,
That's one of my
Doppler
favorite
Dave.
spots. It's one of my favorite spots. One of my dad's favorite spots. People like D-Rose, which is a kind of a barbecue spot.
Those are right.
Not
What about
downtown.
Buds?
Buds. I've been to Buds. It's good.
Okay.
It's good. Burn ends. Korean burn ends. Really good.
Okay.
I like. Those are my kind of my spots. If I'm a good Flat Branch, obviously.
Oh, yeah. I got a
great
place
spot.
next to Flat Branch.
Flat Branch. You get yourself an oil change stout. Real good.
All right. There it is. Like I said, Jackson's given his recommendations for homecoming, which doesn't sound like he's going to be at. Doesn't sound like it. You're going to be up in Amherst, though, to watch the fall foliage and the Tigers take on the Minutemen.
If it was closer to Boston, there was a good chance that I was going to make that play.
All right, there it is. All right, Jackson, Mike Schilt is a win away from the NLCS. Philosophical differences, the rivalry between the Dodgers and Padres, the rivalry between the Mets and the Phillies, it can all come to an end today, setting up a Mets and Padres NLCS. Meanwhile, the Royals send Seth Lugo to the mound to try to put the Yankees on the brink after their great regular season. And oh my, the Guardians have to head to the Motor City. For the first time in a decade, Comerica Park will host a playoff game. 4 playoff series all starting up this afternoon, going on concurrently. We'll talk about it next here on Balloon Party 101 ESPN. All right, Jackson, we got 6 minutes here on Balloon Party. Now it's 5 minutes. That's just a reminder how fast time moves.
It's true.
Well, what are we going to do with it?
Well, if you don't stop and look around a little bit, we'll pass you right on by.
Matthew Broderick.
Who is considerably shorter than you are.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. My mom interviewed him probably in the late 80s and said, like, she was startled by how short he was.
Mm-hmm. How tall he is. How tall is Matthew?
They'll probably list him as 5'5" or 5'6", but she was
5'8".
She was dubious because she is not that tall, and she said she was taller than he was.
Well, he's going to join us tomorrow, so we will ask him then. Jackson, do you have any questions regarding the baseball playoffs?
I do. If you could have your druthers, what would you like to see for the championship series, AL and NL, and then what would be your perfect World Series given these circumstances?
I like seeing the 6th seed continue to represent the National League in the World Series. This would make it 3 straight years. Hopefully, as this nonsense continues, it will cause baseball and fans to go, hey, what's the point of 162 games if we're just going to throw an NCAA tournament together and a best of 3 and then a best of 5 and then a best of 7 and totally disregard the value of playing 162 games. So I pull for that. Doesn't provide necessarily the most exciting matchup, but I want them to burn this format down. But see, right now, many are caught up in, well, this is exciting. I find this to be so exciting, so therefore it must be working. Yeah, I suppose it's exciting, but it wasn't interleague play exciting when we got to see the American League Central in the ballparks here for the first time in 1997. But after a while, those of us with foresight, with judgment, and with the interest in the greater good of our America's pastime, want to see the Major League regular season, the longest in all of sport, rewarded for those who can survive the marathon. And instead, now you win the division, and there is a good chance that our World Series will once again have no division winner. So, Jackson, it irritates me.
Yeah.
So, therefore, give me 6 seeds or give me death.
That's fair. The Athletic ranked the 8 of the 8 remaining teams the toughest playoff environment, the most playoff madness. Would you like to take a stab at going through these and guessing?
Okay, so it can't be Kansas City, even though I know we've adopted all their teams over here until the Battlehawks start up again. All right, so I'm going to cross them off the list. And man, I'll tell you what, San Diego's a laid-back place, but they got a hell of an atmosphere going on there.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be near the top. Maybe the old Yankee Stadium, but I don't know if the new Yankee Stadium has the intensity.
Not to mention playoff tickets in New York are crazy.
Ridiculous.
Crazy.
I'm going to say, but we haven't seen one in Detroit yet. This is their first playoff game. Isn't that kind of crazy?
Right. Yeah, that is nuts.
So I don't know
Detroit's
how that can be ranked. So I'm going to cross them off the list I think Cleveland I'll cross off the list as well.
They are 7.
Okay, so I feel like I'm in a good place here. I'm going to go San Diego,
1.
Philadelphia, Queens,
No,
Bronx.
sir. Queens got ranked 6th
Well, they only had one game, and it was just last night when this article come out.
a couple days ago.
Interesting.
I guess they're going off previous. It went Padres, Phillies, Yankees as your top 3.
I feel good about where I came in.
I was surprised by the Padres and how intense that environment is.
I think part of it is because they're playing the Dodgers.
Totally.
The San Diego thing with L.A. is what it used to be like for those of you who were in Columbia, Missouri in the 90s and aughts, and I guess maybe even the teens for you with Kansas City towards St. Louis.
Right.
And just how there was this weird little brother thing. Now, I don't know what's going on, but it's different.
Yep.
We've adopted little brother, I guess. So they hate L.A.
Yeah.
San Francisco hates L.A. L.A. goes, well, we don't really think about San Diego or San Francisco. So that's where I think a lot of that comes from. Plus, you got some drama going on between the teams.
Absolutely. I love the jawing.
Yeah.
And I love that Jack
And
Flaherty.
Mike Schilt issued a response yesterday.
Yeah.
I think if you asked Cardinal fans who they were polling for, of the 8 teams, I think the majority, or the highest percentage, maybe it wouldn't be more than 50%, would say pulling for the Padres because of Schilt.
Yeah.
For real.
Royals 2nd, probably.
I don't know. That whole thing. I mean, do you think that's it?
Yeah, I think it would.
Do you really?
I think the second, yeah.
Really?
I think it's because of the same rationale they use for the Chiefs.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's to the same level.
but I will say this. I went and I was out with my wife and boys at this little farmer's market thing the other day, and I couldn't believe, I mean, I seeing Chief stuff at this point. It's like, okay, whatever. Hey, and you cheer for who you cheer for. It doesn't matter to me. I was stunned by the amount of Royal stuff I saw. Telling you.
And I mean, just like from bird's eye view, they are like the easier team because they had such a bad year last year and now they've turned it around. But I think that combined with the fact that they play in the state of Missouri has some turncoats turn coat.
Okay. You know what? Some people like some things and some people like other things.
Some people like taking the easy way out.
You think that's the easy way out? There's no easy way out? Robert Tepper, Rocky IV? And that's what Sylvester Stallone was listened to after Apollo Creed was killed by Ivan Drago? And spoiler alert, sorry.
That's the best Rocky?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, according to goodorbad.com, which I have an equity position in. Yeah. Don't have a monetization strategy, but like a prospectus maybe by the end of the day.
Just know that if you get out now, you'll regret it in 10 years.
We haven't generated $1 in revenue.
Okay. No, hey, listen, if you want out, you can have out, but you'll regret
Nobody wants to buy my shares.
Amazon didn't turn a profit for a long time, Tim. Would you want a piece of them?
At least they brought in $1.
Right, but they were spending a lot. The overhead at my place, nothing.
That's right.
Yeah.
But the revenue...
Right, I'm keeping your money safe. Don't worry. It's not going anywhere. Slush fund.
Fair enough. I heard that right at the end. Time for us to go. BK and Ferrario are up next. Did they watch the Blues game or did they go running? Find out. This is 101 ESPN. James Carlton, Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency, online at carltoninsurance.net. He's my insurance agent. He's a wonderful gentleman. Make the switch. They'll do all the paperwork for you, and they'll always be looking for ways to save you money. And James joins us right now, fresh off a glorious trip to College Station, Texas. Good morning, James.
Hey, good morning. You know what, though? We picked ourselves right back up with our Chiefs and our Royals winning on Monday night.
Thank you. See? The James has adopted the Chiefs and Royals, too.
Yeah, it puts me in a good place.
Yeah, in all seriousness, my Daubers been down just like Jackson's has all week, but I got UMass to bounce back with.
That's right.
But what really picks me up is saving people a lot of money on their car and home insurance. And I'm telling you, the savings are there. Just go online to carltoninsurance.net. Within moments, you can find out how much we can save you. Or give us a call. Text us, 314-961-4800.
There it is. James Carlton, Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency.